Okay, so we're now reaching a stage where we want to make a handle for our shovel, and the good thing to use here is just an ordinary tape measure. And I know we've been talking in imperial measurements now, but that was really because the rivets tend to come in 1/8 diameter. So take your tape measure and just bend it over, and then decide on what size you want it for. Depends what you need your shovel for. If you're going to brush stuff off the floor, fine, keep it up. In this case here, maybe to get ashes out of a stove, we want sort of straight back and a bit of reach to it. So we're going to cut this off at about 400 millimeters, and that allows a wee bit for holding on to the shovel as well. So 400 millimeters, and for that we're going to use a piece of flat 3/4 inch mild steel, and the edges on it are sort of rolled and ergonomically a good piece of metal to use for what we're going to do next. Okay, so once we have our piece of metal cut, what we want to do then is to just put a wee radius onto the end of it, so nice and close to the jaws of the vise to get rid of all that nasty vibration. Just take a rough file and off you go. Keep the file level as you go. Nice big rough cutting file, doesn't belong rounding that off. Put a fair bit of pressure on here, the file's cutting well. We can see it's coming in there alright, you can see the radius. We just want to match that on the other side. It's all about keeping it low in the vise so it doesn't vibrate. Sometimes just to get the radius even on both sides, but it's not far away there. It just needs maybe another wee rub just on this side. Not much. That's it. And then quite quickly, just a couple of wee rubs just to remove any burr that there is. That's it, fine, and that's now ready for a little hook on the end. So I've just chosen this nice little bit of heavy bar here. It has to be solid bar, you can't use pipe for what we're going to do next here. And we're going to bend this around that. We're going to do it cold, and even though it's quite a strong material, it's not that difficult to do. So we're just going to put it into the vise like so, and I'm just leaving ever so little sticking out through the top of the vise. And make sure everything's square and close the vise up. What we're going to do now is just to bend that over that, and to do that we're going to use a heavy hammer and just come in over the top. Hammer marks on, but we're not too bothered about that because it's just all about a bit of character with the metal. We don't mind that. Just a wee bit more here. So I've got a nicely tight curve forming around this. So the next thing we do is we take it and we put it back into the vise this way. And I'm exerting pressure on the solid bar here to free up my left hand here to close the vise. I'm just checking that it's all nice and tight, and that gives me a load of room now to come over the top. Now, vital bit here, don't just hit that. Start to bend it by pressing on the bar itself. But very easy to bend just pressing over that, but don't bend it. Just press it until you feel it about to go, and then just tap. If you hit it like this here, messy, you're going to end up putting a bend in it here. So just apply the pressure, and just at that critical stage we tap with a hammer. Remember, this is all cold forming, easy to do. That's a goes away from you. Remember, you have to keep renewing your pressure position here. You're also not getting any big severe hammer marks into your metal. So we've got our hook taking shape here. Now we can bring that right on round if we wish, but I think we've got enough of a hook on this. It's possible just using the same technique to bring it right around and form the like of this. And again, this is one we just made earlier on here, and we brought it right round using the same technique. And if you wish to make a couple of wee handy hinges for a gate or something. Okay, so we have our handle and we're going to now join it onto the shovel. Now to do that, simply place over, find the position, and it's fair enough there. Now I'm just marking a little X here and another X here because obviously we'll need 2 rivets to do this join here, and I've just marked it with a pencil. Now we're going to center punch these and drill them now because it might be complicated if we bend this to get the drill in near the holes later, so we'll do that now. Okay, so we have our holes drilled and deburred on both sides here now, and the stick's useful just to set the handle onto here and just eye it up to your own satisfaction. You've got it in the middle and so on. You could start measuring it and so on, but this will be fine. So position it like so and mark out one hole only, which will become clear later on. And we're just going to center punch this, and we're going to drill a hole here as well. So for our next stage, we've put the rivet up through. Of course we can't use the rivet set until we cut a wee piece off this, so the same rule as before, into the vise, and we will cut off, leave approximately 1/8 of an inch in place. Now we have this more or less ready for riveting, but the next thing we're going to do is put the bend onto the handle before we do the riveting. So we've marked it into 30 mil, which is the depth of our shovel here, and again just start the bend by hand, apply the pressure, and then tap it down, and we're going more or less to a right angle here. Okay. Okay, so here we are, we've got all in place. Now it'd be tempting to run a drill through this here, but you can't because of where the handle is. So we simply are just going to take our little pencil and we'll mark this hole and center punch it, and then we'll drill the hole separately again. Okay, so we've got the 2 rivets inserted now, lined up quite easily. It's not that complicated there, but sometimes if you don't do it this way, when you join the 2 pieces together and you've pre-drilled the 4 holes, they don't line up. So one rivet right through first and then mark the other one through. Okay, so here we are positioned back on the rivet set, and we're just going to tighten it up using the top set and tap it closed. Ensures a good tight connection between the 2 metals, and the inside one as well. And just without further ado, we just get in and start. Far enough there, and then the dome for our final one. Off we go again. Just lost position there a little bit, and that should be enough. And then in with our dome head again, and just check for tightness there. Here we have it. And shovel underneath. If you feel the need that you want to adjust this again afterwards, if you feel that you've come over too far, it's quite easy just to put it back into the vise. I'll just give it a wee minor adjustment back up again if necessary. That's what that one needs, just a wee bit too much to the ground. You don't want it scraping your fingers going in. Okay. And finally, just a little tip here to help you file off these sharp corners here. If you can grab it into the vise. So. Just takes the sharp edge off it. Same on the other side. Just deburr those edges a little bit. So this is ready for wire brushing up, painting, whatever finish you want to put on it.